All right. So we'll kick it off another episode, which I still don't know what we're going to call it. Um, but so far, so good on the first episode. And this time, Michael gave us some things to talk about to keep us on track.
A loose semblance of an agenda.
Yeah, man. I got the Florida football game going on right now too. So
Let's go
Hey,
Gators.
yeah, man. I know. I since I give them money for alumni stuff, they better win. They're actually beating Texas, so feels good.
We'll see how long that lead lasts, though. It's already 14-22.
Yeah, no. Trying to find the agenda. All right. So the last podcast, I guess everybody met Joe, Nick, and I. Michael and Coop. I mean, you guys can tell a little bit about yourself and background, history, and all that.
sure. I
Go
guess
ahead, Mike.
yeah, I can, probably start. Yeah. Let's see. Mike Marlados. I am background. Okay. How far back do you want to go? Because, we can be here, days.
Yeah, I mean, like what kind of got you into get into the Discord group? Because we all kind of met through the Discord group, right? So kind of
Okay.
the supplements, fitness, and I think a lot of us are involved with like bodybuilding and peptides and such.
Sure. So, yeah, yeah, background. Actually, I have a, formal education, I guess, in science, but always been involved in sports. Kids played sports. I played sports. Got to the point where I started breaking bones, and then I discovered, bodybuilding. Although in my early days, a dear friend of mine tried to get me into, you know, lifting. This was back in my military days. He was, one huge, Marine who was in the deadlifts team, for, the Marines, trying to get me to go, in the weight room with him. I got really sore, after a session with him. I said, yeah, not again. So fast forward, I guess, gosh, 23 years later, I discovered bodybuilding after I started, breaking bones while playing soccer. And I'm like, I had enough of that. But given my, background in science, I've always been interested, in supplementation, and through various, yeah, online, research and forums, etc. Ran into Price Plow, and eventually there was a link to join the Price Plow Discord. Did and have met, a fantastic group that, we banter frequently, back and forth. And also, not only about supplements, but we give each other, quite a bit of support in our bodybuilding journeys, etc. So when it comes to bodybuilding, I have competed, as a natural bodybuilder, turned pro in the OCB. Did a few competitions, as a pro. I've done, fairly well, but have since hung my hat in the competitive arena. Not out of it, necessarily totally. I still do quite a bit of judging. In fact, I'm getting ready to judge a show next week, at this, time. So I'm gonna have to rethink about next week's session.
Huh.
But with you judging, you can't coach, can you?
No, so no, you can't not coach. Yeah, well, you can coach. You have to abstain from the class that your athlete is in. So there was a show where I was helping, a friend of my son's. He was competing in classic. So I had to, refrain from judging, the classic class, during that show.
So you're in the Marines?
No, actually, I was in the Navy, stationed with the Marines. So I said, my background is in medicine, medical. I was a corpsman, in the Navy. I joined the Navy shortly after I graduated high school. I graduated early. So I'll date myself. Yeah, graduated in, it's okay, 1986. Yeah, 2 months later, yeah, I was 17. Yeah, 2 months later, I was in the Navy down in San Diego, going through boot camp. Yeah, tested exceptionally well. Yeah, and had my choice of fields. I was always interested in medicine. Yeah, when I was still a youngster in Greece, I used to actually volunteer and worked in a veterinary shop. So the corpsman field was available to me, but I had tested high enough where they also gave me the opportunity to do specialties. Yeah, so I was also a certified EMT, and I was also trained in lab tech school. So I went through lab tech school, so know how to yeah draw bloods, take a urine cup, put it through its paces, make my own McConkey plates and plate them out and read them as well the old-fashioned way where you used to do CBCs and RBC counts under the microscope. So,
Oh,
but yeah, I was in the Navy.
that's crazy. Hey,
Yeah.
were there like PED use back then, like with the military, or like anything to enhance like cognition or performance? Any drugs?
Nothing formal. And it was certainly nothing that was ever discussed. I'll tell you, the buddy of mine who was a Marine, we were stationed in Okinawa, Japan at the time. He was all of 340. Yeah, 6'4". Yeah, and I'm sure he wasn't missing his myostatin, gene, but he was, one duty he did not want to come across. I'm sure there was probably some, enhancement, but nothing that was ever, talked or discussed, about. And none of that stuff really, yeah, began to trickle out, I think in, the 90s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know like when the like Navy and stuff started using they weren't they using something to like enhance like a wakefulness for the pilots and stuff?
There might have been, certainly trial ballooning stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was not involved, in those things. So, just to, I guess, maybe close the loop a little bit. So coming back from Okinawa, I was, and what eventually got me planted in the East Coast because I'm originally from, the West Coast. I was stationed at the Naval Research Institute in Bethesda, Maryland. And there, we were doing, whole animal, research. But a lot of the things that we were studying back then, you had to do with things that you will encounter, during the battle. So a lot of septic shock, research. Um, but one of the nice things that they also had up, next door, to our facility was, one of those chambers where you can do, pressurized testing. So they would take, people and leave them, in these pressurized chambers for like months on end. Well, it would take, weeks to actually, bring them back up from the depths that they were testing them in. But yeah, nothing in the enhancement arena, more about how to treat rapidly, what you may encounter. So around that time, if you, some of you are probably too young, to recall, we were getting ready to go to war with, and the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. So one of the things that we were doing, at the time was testing the sand around, what type of bacteria and what type of septic shock would be created, say, from bacteria from that region, so we can tailor the treatment cocktails, and arm, the medics on the field should they have to, treat somebody on site or even, back, in the field hospitals. So what kind of resistance, and bacteria, would be encountered. So lots of that kind of stuff. Yeah, my journey into supplements, was more of an independent, search and look, just, curiosity.
Yeah. That's crazy. Um I'd say the craziest thing, like in hospitals, is whenever doctors start stealing patients' prescriptions and then ODing in elevators.
Uh,
But
so
Look at
real
the
stuff.
I've got
stories here.
I've got stories. Yeah, I certainly have stories about this. Maybe in another podcast. But I was yeah accused of yeah, there was a half truth. Yes, I had access to Oxy, but I was accused of like, come on, doc, you must have taken a few Oxys here and there, and miscounted, when you were turning them in. I'm like, no. Anyways, yeah,
It's
I
funny.
have a different value system when it comes to yeah, drugs.
All right. And Coop, I know that you're on a cycling journey and endurance journey now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, my background with it, actually right out of high school. Damn, look at that guy.
You're like,
So ended up going straight out of high school into just working like a little factory job, just trying to figure out what I was going to do, planning on college and everything. Um, Ended up actually walking into a GNC, and pretty much at that point, I was like, yeah, this is dope. This is what I want to do. So yeah, 12 years of that now. Did done some personal training on the side as well, and just a bunch of little odd jobs here and there just to keep things going. But I think I still just lead it back to that day of just meeting the guy who I started with, and it was one of those like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I like, and found found a lot of cool info, and I just wanted to be able to help people and make sure they're not getting fat or just helping towards the goals if they want to get fat. Like I could teach someone how to get fat. That's pretty easy.
That's
Yeah,
me. I'm
yeah,
fat.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hardly,
Uh,
hardly.
yeah, but the bodybuilding thing, man, that was just kind of something on a whim. I just like always going to the gym and everything. Like all the gyms I've gone to in the past were just kind of like your generic gym. Like you just see people in there, you're like, no, this is just your everyday dude. When me and my wife moved to our second apartment, there was a guy in there who loved bodybuilding. Like he's an older guy, and every time he would talk to me, he's like, who do you got for the Olympia? Who do you got for this show? Who do you got? And I'm like, all right, man, I like this dude. Finally, he was like, let's get you up on the stage. Let's do one show together. I'm like, all right, screw it. Like, let's see what happens. I've always wanted to do one. My first show that I planned on doing was back before 2020. I was gonna end up doing physique because just a little guy at the time. Um, Bless you. But ended up hurting my shoulder like 4 weeks out. Couldn't lift anything past my head, so sat that one out. And then, but yeah, like I said, hopped in with that guy and did that first show, and then from there, it's just been kind of meeting new people, networking, and now obviously working at Destination was kind of like, all right, I'm surrounded by these people a little more. Like, let's keep pushing. The biggest thing with like the endurance side of things, though, was just mainly the fact of kind of everyday life and getting ready for kids. Um, just want to be able to run around when I do have kids and not be out of breath and just being able to be functional. So that's kind of really the big switch there. But my grandma was a big biker, 60, 68 years old, I believe. And she goes on these like week-long trips where her and her friends just go ride for like 200 plus miles. They'll ride like a good section in a day, and then they'll go camp, and they just do that for the full week. And
All right.
something about that was kind of like, yeah, I kind of like that. That sounds like a fun life. Obviously, I'm taking it a little more to the extreme that I'm pushing miles that they don't do in a full day. So that's eventually the plan. I think want to start pushing like 100 plus mile rides at some point. Obviously, got to probably downsize a little more, but
Yeah, man, it sucks going uphill. Downhill, man, you got all the momentum. It's like super easy. But yeah, I want to get one of those the bike setups that they use the Swift, I think. It's like
yeah,
whatever like Matt Jansen and all them do because I want to start like racing people. And I just think that that's like the coolest thing because all the stationary bikes that I do, they're kind of easy. And then outdoor, it's like I don't have a bike anymore. So it's just always it's different. But that Zwift I heard, like that setup that they have is really, really good. Kind of mimic a little bit
Is
better.
that what is that what provides the resistance, dynamic resistance changes, as you're riding, through?
Yeah. So I see like
Yeah.
Dom and Matt Jansen. I think that Greg Doucette, he
Right.
does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that those are super cool. Plus, there's like elite athletes on there, so it'd be nice to see how we compare. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, doing it on the Peloton, it's actually kind of wild. Like sometimes you'll see some people that are booking it, and like you'll see them up on the top. They'll just start, and then all of a sudden they're like at the top, and you're like, damn, like you're insane. Like, I mean, Peloton's been fun, but then obviously you have your person who's been riding for like the full 45 minutes, and they're just chilling at the bottom. It's like, what are you doing? You eating a cheeseburger while you're riding? You like, have you even pedaled?
Did you make up a crazy name so that you can be like really good and they say like the names out loud? Like see
No,
more butts and all that. That would be my
maybe
only goal with Peloton.
maybe once I'm a little better at it. The I did interval training yesterday in zone 3, and that kind of kicked my ass when I left yesterday. Touching
Yeah.
some zone 4 there, but man, it was rough trying to even get in it. Legs were wiped out before I could even touch it.
Dude, they get so pumped. Like, man, I don't understand how some of these people can build legs, like the cyclist, and then like still okay, and still like have that endurance. Like their legs are so big. Some of these like Tour de France guys that are, you know the guy I'm talking about. He does like 400 pound like single leg squats and stuff. Like he's crazy, huge quads. But he's like an Olympic cyclist.
He doesn't do like long distance riding. He does the velodrome stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I see him on the ergo bike. Because
Yeah, he,
in
he does
college we had
he
one of
does
those. But
velodrome. So they do speed
oh,
biking. Yeah, and the velodromes.
okay, I was wondering. I was like, how does that dude maintain his leg size?
Yeah, yeah. No, the
Gotcha.
guys on Tour de France, you see them, with the straw arms, yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah, decent legs, but the the guys that have humongous quads, those are pure power out, and they're like your sprinters, in the Olympics, right? Sprinters, are much more thick, muscled, type of athletes than your long distance runners. And the sprinters and the biking they have, they're just built for raw power, to transfer
yeah,
onto the bike.
yeah. I'm trying to like see if my like leg size will drop during this whole thing that I'm doing, but no, it's been actually like improving as far as like detail, but it's not the goal. So
Yeah,
um,
that's not something I'm interested in not necessarily the biking, losing size on legs. I hear it's pretty important in as you get older.
yeah, yeah. It's just like one of these weird things I'm into of like trying to see if these peptides and my supplementation and PED things are actually working. And I'll sacrifice myself if I have to. So,
Andrew,
yeah.
I had was it a fairly grueling but satisfying leg day, yeah, a couple of days ago, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I think I'm channeling Andrew. I think I'm trying to get myself, Rabda, because I was having such a good leg day that the dummy in me, just wanted to do more and and more and more. It was such a good, hard, productive session. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be Andrew, give myself rhabdo here because my legs were on fire. But,
Yeah. I've had rhabdo twice, and both times it sucked so bad, right? So like I've had the first time it was 3 days in a row during the Tampa Pro and like going to MI40 gym. So working out with different people, but like his squats, deadlifts, and the squats again or something. It's like leg day, deadlifts, and then leg day. And then on that fourth day, like I couldn't get out of my bed and I had to have my wife like take me to the hospital. And then I went through 16 IV bags in less than
Oh,
24
wow.
hours. So like I ballooned up with all this water weight.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the second one was like the couple of days before moving to Texas. And so I felt it come on and then I'm like, I gotta drive to Texas in 2 days. I'm like, there's no freaking way. So I had to have this lady come by my house and do a couple of IV bags and put some Toradol in there. And so I'm driving to Texas and I have like rhabdo and I'm like, I can't sit down. And I'm like, yeah, it sucks so bad. But now it's kind of like I'm doing the same stuff and with some of these peptides like the MOTS-C and the SLU and like I don't know, but my wife is super worried. She's like, oh, you're going to get so small, like skinny, because you want to do these cycling things. Because she's like, she likes me bigger, and then she's like, I think you're losing size in your arm, and she's like trying to like mess with me mentally to like make me stop. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
That's not a good set of comments to come out of your spouse.
I know she's
Unusual. You're losing
she's
size.
messing with my head.
It's funny because
Yeah.
that's the same thing my wife does too. She's like, oh, you're gonna get small, you're gonna be skinny. She's like, I want you bigger. I'm like, I'll see what I can do, but like if it happens, it happens.
No, but Cooper,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, that you guys, yeah, did the competition together. Yeah, that's always exciting. So there's a few competitions that I've judged. There've been husbands and wives, teams that come out, and even yeah, daughter, yeah, and mother, and yeah, son, and yeah, and father. That those are always pretty special. Yeah,
Yeah,
to have
it
gone
was
through it
fun.
together.
Honestly, the biggest thing was the fact that she did it. I just kept messing with her. I'm like, come on, let's do something hard together. Like we skipped our anniversary and I guess our honeymoon to go out and do this. So we're taking a nice little trip to Japan next year to actually celebrate. But she she's very like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it again. She's like, maybe. She's now she's doing Pilates is her new thing. So, but
Yeah,
she keeps
that,
she's yeah, she's definitely 50-50 if she wants to do it again. I think if she does, I would rather see her in bikini instead of fit model, but I think that's where she should have been. But our coach was very like, nah, let's do fit model. Like let's get her in there. And then
How
at
does
the end,
everyone feel about that, about Fit Model?
that's a money
I
thing.
do.
Money ain't
I
go.
know why they're doing it because I mean, as it is, bikini is like one of the big attractors. It's a big money maker for the NPC because all the girls want to do it. They all have all their friends joining. But one of the kind of intimidating things is, oh, I'm going to be in the gym and train hard for it. Whereas fit model's like, oh, I look good. I'm a fit chick. So I can just jump in a show and do it. It feels like it's a lower barrier of entry, but the NPC can still collect those admission fees and the entry fees and the class crossovers, and it's a way for the NPC to make more money. Which, on one hand, I'm all for them doing because it allows for them to kind of promote more at the higher level and give competitors more prize money. Because honestly, the women's divisions do kind of get shafted on the prize money compared to what the amateur ranks bring in. But all that being said, when the fit model comes on the stage, that's when I'm going to use the bathroom. Because
Yeah.
sure, you can do it and good for you. You're more attractive than I probably ever will be, but I just have no interest in watching it.
Yeah. I mean, here, my thought process is exactly yours, like what you're saying. It's definitely a money grabber for NPC, which again, promoters really, really want. But in my head, I was like, so you're kind of just taking some people from like the Miss America pageantry. Like that's what I thought they were trying to do was trying to get those people to come over because those people have tons of money and they have tons of followers. Because my brother-in-law and sister, or my brother and my sister-in-law, they run Miss America pageants, and those that's what those people look like. The fit model looks just like them. So then in my head, I was like, man, if they start the men's model or men's fit model or whatever, I'm thinking it's going to be like the UK where they put on a suit or something and strut down the walkway, which by all means it's a moneymaker, but I don't think it fits. Like I think I feel like it has to have a show of its own or like its own day. I'm not the biggest fan of it being collaborative because it's not what bodybuilding or the women's fitness like industry is. It's more of like a pageantry of Miss America pageantries, as far as like the body style goes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
kind of feel it, yeah, similarly, yeah, and definitely on the money side, but it's also a double-edged sword in that NPC does this self-inflicting, yeah, wounds, right? Yeah, and that they don't judge, they don't maintain the judging standards. Yeah, you see, yeah, these new classes, yeah, pop up and they evolve to bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they become not necessarily unattainable, but yeah, they lose the original, yeah, context of, yeah, why they were created. So yes, from one perspective, it is a money grab, yeah, to bring in, more money to support, the show and, the payouts, but at the same time, and yeah, and I think actually all federations, not just, NPC and IFBB, yeah, need to do a better job on maintaining and rewarding the standard, yeah, for each class that they have versus just going always, bigger and leaner and drier. Yeah, it's like, okay, what is the actual silhouette that you're trying to achieve, with a particular, class? Same thing with, classic is like, classic, in the IFBB, what standard are they really, what's classic? Yeah, so we can peel it apart, yeah, and a lot of things. So at least in bodybuilding, there is much easier to, to distinguish, the winning, physiques, yeah, than I think
Yeah,
it is on the other ones, like men's physique. Couldn't tell you what the standard is. What is the standard in men's physique?
Ryan Terry.
those guys are
Yeah,
getting juicy now. They,
Don't they have a
yeah,
weight
yeah,
cap now?
yeah. They
yeah,
have,
Yeah, they do.
IFBB one, yeah, but Bundia, man, I was like, those legs looking good, dude. Um, Hey, which brings us to like one of our topics, the Olympia predictions. We can go ahead and jump into that one right now. Um,
yeah, that one easy.
but but going back to the girls division, my youngest son loves wellness. So like whenever I watch them on the TV, he's glued to it. He went to a show and he's like
How
glued to the
old is
wellness.
he?
And then 6. So he loves butts. It's funny. He's like, he was. I think he told my wife, he's like, I don't. He doesn't like brown butts, but he's like all the other butts are fine. But yeah, he's like super into it. So, um, but he won't be at the house to watch the Olympia this year. So, um, so yeah,
He's gonna be
Olympia
a wellness
predictions.
coach.
I hope not. Kid's a little pervert. Uh, who wants to go first? Because I really don't. I'm just more interested in the open, to be honest. Yeah,
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
let's keep it to the open. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for predictions. Yeah, for
Joe, you
now,
want to go
I'm,
unless you
first?
guys want to do classic. Yeah, I'm
yeah, no,
definitely
Uh,
not into men's physique. I don't follow that crowd,
no,
although that's where I
same.
competed.
But no, probably for my predictions, I'm gonna go with who I would have, not necessarily who I think they're gonna. I'll go with who I think they're going to pick, just so I can be right if I'm right. I think they're gonna go with Samson as the number one overall. Just he has great shape. He seems to be coming in good condition this year. I do think it's suspicious that they were dieting so hard before, but then the year that GLP-1s come out, now he gets shredded. It's a bit suspicious, but I think they're going to go with him because he's going to come in shape this year. I'm pretty confident in that. I think his shape will kind of carry him. So I'm going to go with Samson in first. Nick in second, just because I think he's going to be kind of a contrast, but just kind of the overwhelming size that he does carry. I mean, he's a muscle-bound freak, in my opinion. He is not necessarily going to be like the one that like, oh, it's so pretty to look at, but you look at open bodybuilding, I think it is still a muscle game. So the big guys still need to get rewarded. So I think he's going to be coming in second. And then it's wild.
Freaking nutty.
He is.
I mean, he always looks great in the still shots no matter what. Like it's always in kind of in the transitions when the midsection becomes an issue. But I think I think he's going to control it well enough this year to take second. And I think rounding out the top three, I have Hottie. Just because, number one, I don't like Derek, but I don't think his legs are going to be able to match up with the rest of them.
Yeah.
I think that's a common thing right now with
Yeah.
Derek right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone's talking about it.
I have similar I guess predictions, and big fan I'll say of Samson, but I do think his size, shape, will still be overwhelming, even if it's a slightly downsized, to have gotten the shredded quality that they're asking of him to come in with. So if he has achieved it, and comes in just a little bit fuller, then it will be likely enough to carry it. And then in my mind, it's a little bit of a toss up between Hottie and Nick, because Hottie's pretty thick, as well. He carries quite a bit of muscle. As to that's a coin toss for me, wanting to see them side by side. But I think in a similar boat, I think Nick will actually likely edge it out.
Do you think that's do you guys because of Hottie's travel problems, or do you think it's just him getting old?
I think time is catching up with him. A little bit, and his legs were slightly smaller before, but it's hard to because he didn't compete this past year, so we haven't seen him so I don't know what that lower half looks like. I mean, the top half is gonna be on par, and probably not second to many others. That said, I think Nick is very good from the back. As well. Very competitive. So look, he may not have necessarily the structure from the front, from the back. I don't think he lacks, the aesthetics and the structure, the muscularity, the freakishness, at all. So I don't, between Hottie and Nick, it's the coin toss, 2-3. And then, Derek fourth. For sure. Not that necessarily that I don't care for Derek, although it has nothing to do with his how he comes across as genuine or not. He was in my mind beaten by Nick already. And the way they judged that. The way they judged that show seemed a little bit unfair. You gassed Nick out. And that's never, it's a bodybuilding show. It's not a freaking endurance show. Yes, you should maintain form, to the extent possible, but you shouldn't run them to the point where you intentionally are gassing them out and use that as a criteria, to judge a bodybuilding show. That's just my opinion. And I thought Nick had won it without needing to go those extra rounds. But what do I know? But because of that, and Nick is bigger already, from that show, and shredded, I do think he's gonna be on top of Derek, without a doubt. So I'll just leave it at that. Unless for fifth, I like Bruce. Now that he's in.
So
You think that he's going to be?
Yeah, he's in.
You think he's Yeah, you think he's going to be good though coming in? Like he has enough time, maybe flying over here. He's never been to the U.S. and
He's
never been
coached
on
by
this
Miller's, right?
stage.
So they're gonna, I'm sure, visit the, his chemistry lab, to get him, in shape. He's definitely demonstrated, under normal conditions that the dude is phenomenally peeled. Yeah, symmetry is fantastic. Muscularity, and density is, world class. So, under the right conditions, if he can get, those jitters and, whatever water retention may have incurred, coming over under control, in time, I do think he would compete, up there. I don't have confidence in, somebody like an Andrew Jack. Um, although, I do think he's got the better physique, aesthetics, than a Samson by a country mile. He doesn't have yet, the size and, um, so I don't see, Andrew, fighting for that position, necessarily.
Do you
I could
have
even see
Andrew ahead
Andrew.
of Martin? Sorry.
Martin, love Martin, love his, frame, yeah, many good things, even, forgive some of, his mishaps, as a young man, but he needs to overcome his, the space between his ears. Yeah. So seems to be so cortisol prone. Yeah. And the mental game gets to him, very quickly, that he's his own, enemy, in this thing. So if he can manage his cortisol spikes, and the mental grit that, is required to be on that stage and compete, and truly compete, be engaged, not disappointed, compete. I can see Martin, being, fifth. Martin, not, I think's got, the goods, to be up there for a very long time.
It's wild to me just when he and Brett started out, I really thought that Brett was going to be the one who would really like the breakout star and that everyone would know and
Yeah.
would place well at the Olympia. But it seems like he really just hasn't delivered in the same way, and Martin's really emerged as kind of the front runner of the two of them.
Martin's also younger, right? Yeah,
Oh
Britton's
yeah.
mid 30s already. I think Martin's what, 27, 28 still, maybe. Yeah, he's in his 20s. But
And that's it's like
definitely
he
love.
go ahead,
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. No, I was just saying, definitely love the intensity, that those guys, take to, the gym. It's, something to be emulated, by a lot of, aspiring bodybuilders, I think, of how you need to train, and train to induce change, not, train to exercise.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's like same, just talking on the training side of things, watching Jordan and Justin Abbott train every day. Like
Yep.
watching those two go at it, like yelling, and man, like they push each other so hard to the point where you're like, one of these fuckers is gonna tear something. Like I know Jordan's very prone to injuries, and the fact that he's made it through both shows and now the Olympia prep, I'm like, wow, okay, like you made it, so you fixed something. I know he's running like BPC and whatnot as well, so that's obviously got a big thing. And I think stress wise, he's definitely taken a big jump there. He doesn't seem as stressed, but yeah, training wise, like the amount of people that come in the gym and just talk about like those two, or oh, I can't think of Brandon's last name.
Brandon
Um,
Barrow.
yeah, Barrow.
Barrow.
Yeah, like people just come in and they're like, dude, watching them train like has me motivated. I want to eat my meals. I want to do everything that I need to do. I'm like, yeah, like that's what it's about right there. Like that's what you need. So I think but yeah, just talking like the training aspect and like the younger crowd. We have a lot of people up there that are like early 20s that really want to. I mean, even people who are like, I think we let people in that are like 15, and like some of those guys are still trying to get into bodybuilding everything, and like it's like, well, just watch those guys. Like if you're serious about it, that's just follow kind of what they do. Obviously, have your own protocol, but
Yeah, that gym's awesome, man. My wife's going to be up in Dallas, so this coming week, so I told her to swing by and to pick me up another shirt, as I saw you guys release some new shirts. So
yeah, that brown and black,
yeah,
very nice.
All right.
what
What are your picks, Cooper?
Man, honestly, I think we're all kind of on the same page there. I think it's a very top two heavy fight between Samson and Nick. I think I could go really either way. My like third, I would say that's going to be a fight as well, but I actually don't have Derek there. I would say again, if Beirut gets everything figured out and comes in, he's not stressed and everything, I think he could even be fighting for that third spot. Um, Hottie, I'm not really too impressed from the updates from Hottie right now. Like the he always brings that peak conditioning, and seeing like the chest right now from the shot that he had, the striations aren't what they usually are. So I'm curious if he's having something going on as well. So, but I think him and Beirut and um, Derek are going to be definitely fighting it out for those spots there. And I think wild card wise, like you could easily see you could see a Jordan jumping in at least. I would say probably maybe top six. He would really need to bring it.
Really?
I think Jordan could at least make a pretty big splash.
he's
Um,
impressive. Seeing him in Dallas next to Quentin, like
especially like you got to keep in mind him. He almost beat Andrew uh, last year at Texas. That show was super close, and I think it honestly could have been either way. I think you get Jordan in the right lineup and look there with Andrew. I think he might sneak in. But honestly, the person who I'm probably most excited to see is Vitali. That dude is good vetoes.
Good Vita.
Yeah,
He
he's
looks
looking nuts, man.
he looks very lower half heavy. Does it mean not symmetrical necessarily?
who's his
Arms,
coach?
like King Kong.
Yeah,
I
Uh,
mean, are we? He looks unbalanced, legs to arm or upper body to lower body.
yeah,
He also looks
yeah.
very unbalanced from Instagram to real life. I think he's one of the
yeah.
guys who probably edits his photos the most.
Yeah,
As
maybe.
Because just from the way he qualified in South America, I know that it was like, oh, I'm not really going hard for this show, but I mean, I wasn't impressed with his look down there. Yes, I think he has potential to be a freak, but we really haven't seen him win against quality competition yet.
Yeah. I think his back is still needing to catch up with his lower body. And like, I mean, I think Joe Palacio's back kills
Crazy.
Good Vito's back, but I haven't seen Good Vito in person. But seeing Joe in person, I mean, literally, I've never seen a piece of meat hang off someone's back like that. It was very Nick Walker plus Jay Cutler esque. Like it was nutty looking. Because you saw him like walking off stage or walking to the back of the line. Dude's impressive. I think Joe next year, I think it's going to be,
Yeah, I agree. Joe's gonna make some noise.
yeah,
He
man,
made a
get that dude
ton of
another year.
progress in the last year.
Yeah, yeah. All right, my turn.
Yeah, who you got, Andy?
Yeah, I think number one is going to be Samson. I would love for Nick to be there though. I think Nick is very consistent That's the only thing that I can see him winning versus Samson because we've never seen Samson this dry and peeled as far as his face goes. So it is kind of a catch 22. Like, what's going to happen to his physique? Obviously, he's not going to flatten out. I think his muscles are too billowy and good insertions. I don't think he'll get that flat look on stage. But I don't know. Like, it's a smoke and mirror show. So Nick could pull it off just with his consistency. But I think Samson, Nick, it is who's judging? Is it Weinberger or is it Tyler?
I'm pretty sure it's Weimer.
See, I don't think Weinberger likes Nick because Tyler gave Nick the win versus Derek in Pittsburgh. Like that's his opinion. I don't know, but um, I think Hottie in third. Hottie just because of I'm in an agreement with everybody else with their podcast saying Hottie has no one else to focus on, and maybe Hottie is coming in flat right now with his updates just because he's going to fill out and he's got to play that shredded game and not the size game. Um, so assuming his lower body doesn't fade away like how Brandon's did a few years back. Um, fourth, I think fourth, I want to go out on a limb and say I think Andrew Jack. Um,
Wow.
I think because listening to Chris Aceto, and plus Andrew Jack has been to MI40 working with Andrew Brammer and really focusing on posing. I think he's taking it more serious because what's really lacking, I mean, he can fill out his frame a little bit more, but his posing has been horrendous. Like I don't know how he poses like that as a pro, but I'm thinking he's been in the dark and just the demeanor of Chris Aceto, I think he might be there. And then number five, I think Martin. And I feel like Derek. And so the reason why I'm not putting Derek in my top five, I don't really care about his personality, but he's peaked twice, really, really good. And what's the odds of him peaking a third time, really, really good? Like I don't know of anybody that has peaked like that because the Pittsburgh show, I mean, or the Arnold, I mean, his side shots, his tie-ins, his glutes, his quads, his hams. I mean, it was nutty looking, right? And that's just on video. So I'm sure in real life it's got to be even crazier, like almost like a Roman peeled look. Um, but Martin, I mean, seeing him over here in Texas, he lives up in like Conroe area, so not too far, like an hour from me. But I think he's got his head on straight. I think he's in a good place mentally. The relationship is really good, so his home is really good. The only thing I don't like about him is I feel like he masks his anxiety with kratom, and I
Okay.
think that really shows on stage because again, I don't know what kratom does to someone's cortisol management along with other PEDs. So if he's mixing in a diuretic on top of kratom, I don't know what's happening chemically. So I don't know if it's actually hitting those receptors the same. So I see, he does go flat on stage. He doesn't have like a sweating problem like Hunter has, but I don't know. I think he might have fixed those mistakes and he gets in that top five. So
See,
that's my top
I'm
five.
in a different boat. I see Martin dropping down more towards the 8 to 10 kind of range. I just think with all the new talent coming up, I think there's gonna be some issues there. So, I mean, like we saw Hunter take fourth one year, and then he really hasn't gotten back there yet. And I think it may be kind of a similar situation for Martin. I mean, he very controversial win in Prague. He didn't do his best at the Arnold. So I see him dropping down, not out of the top 10 because he still has a great physique, but
Mhm.
definitely more in like the 8 to 10 range.
Do you have
So
Brandon or Bonac in front of him?
I think Bonac can beat him. I think if Martin shows up like he did for the Arnold and Bonac's his all-time best, I think Bonac does win there. I think Brandon, his ship has sailed a little bit. He did well. He's had a good career. He won the Olympia. He seems to be kind of dropping every year since then. So I think Brandon may actually drop out of the top 10. but I would say probably. So we've already kind of discussed the top four. I think probably Beirut and Andrew are going to be fighting for that 5-6 spot. I'm gonna go with Andrew this year just because I think such a late admission to the US. He still has time to get the water off by all means, but if you aren't sure you're gonna be able to make the show, I think it's gonna hurt kind of your preparation going into it. I'm not sure maybe he'll give like that extra oomph in all of his sets, all of his training, maybe a little bit extra lax with the diet if he's not certain that he can actually get there. Because hasn't it been like 3 years in a row that he hasn't been able to compete?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to a podcast with Jay Cutler, and a lot of people were pushing and got him in. So like Jay Cutler was one of the people that was like really working. I'm
But
assuming with senators and such to get him in.
Mhm.
yeah, he
And
mentioned, I think he wrote a letter of support, yeah, and made calls.
Yeah, and the other thing, man, people, I heard someone say something like, "Oh, like his with Babe Ruth coming over here, he's not going to have the same drugs and stuff. Like he's going to have to find another supplier." I,
you can get
I've
drugs.
I've flown with drugs, and I have friends that come from Turkey that bring suitcases of HGH kits. The dude's bringing drugs. His so nothing's changing with his protocol. It's just that
He
water.
worked with Milos.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they get the same stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think drugs is going to ever be an issue for any of these guys. Yeah, yeah,
Well, the
from overseas
quality and
coming in.
stuff, because there's sometimes companies they do change the carrier oil or they put solvents in there, and like I mean I've seen some of that stuff kind of go sketchy around the Florida gyms with some of the big names. But as far as like traveling with gear, people think that it's impossible. Nah,
No.
like nah, everyone's fine.
So kind of
But
like rounding out, sorry, it's like
yeah.
rounding out the top 10 that I was kind of talking about. So Andrew fifth, Beirut sixth. I think probably, I'm sure I'm forgetting some people here. Uh,
Tonio, Urs.
I think Bonac probably in seventh, followed up by Urs and then Martin.
Really,
So
you see Martin dropping that low?
I do. I mean, like I said, I think last year he exploded onto the scene. And I think just with him having such a whiplash rise, I think it's going to have a bit of a rebound. It's going to come down quite a bit lower with his performance at the Arnold. And like Andrew said, with him having all these anxiety issues, I think when he doesn't immediately get matched up in that top four where he was last year, he's going to kind of have that cortisol dump and start flattening out and start having those issues. So I
Yeah,
do see,
it's definitely not a physique, yeah, issue, yeah, for him. I think it is a mental game management, yeah, and mental toughness, yeah, to be competing at that level.
and didn't he just post something the other day? It was like uh, uh, September 22nd, and that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's already down 10 pounds since then. I think dropping so much or dropping that quickly this close to the show, I think he may have issues filling back up.
Oh, I didn't see that post.
So
That's yeah,
I think
that can make
it's
it difficult.
really the only physique update we've seen from him. And it was a few, he posted a picture
It was
this
that
week
sighting,
from a
right?
few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And he looked good in it. But if you dropped 10 pounds since then, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some water drop. Probably that picture was after a high day and everything. So there's some manipulation going on there. But if he's already one of the
Oh,
smaller guys and he dropped 10 pounds since then, I'm afraid he
that
may
one.
be going for that's the one. Maybe
Yeah.
going for that kind of ultra shredded look that he did when he worked with Branch when he first kind of jumped on the scene, where he gets shredded, but then he was losing to Andrew Jacked and kind of those guys at the UK Pro.
Tony is wild to me.
Yeah.
He looks amazing standing on his own. I
Yeah.
think when
Kind of lose him.
I think he's a bit of a just being a smaller, structured guy, being coming from 212, and he was kind of trading shows with Beirut and Nathan and Bonac and those guys in the European circuit. Maybe he's going to prove me wrong, but I don't see the huge hype around Antonio that everyone else seems to.
Yeah, it's
Speaking
gonna be
of
super
Nathan,
hard. Yes.
Who's
Nathan would
coaching
be
Tony
my.
at? Do we know?
I think Jacoby, wasn't it?
Think so,
You
yeah.
might you might be right.
What could?
Ben doesn't have anybody. Yeah, right, Joe.
No, I think he may have like yeah, I don't think he has anyone in the Olympia this year. I mean, obviously Hunter's his big name client. There's a few other UK guys, but I think it's more kind of the mid-level pros that he's doing more of right now. Which
Did
I
they
mean, sorry, go
did they
ahead.
part ways? Did they part ways? Yeah, Ben and
No,
Hunter.
just with Hunter, he's taking the year off, obviously. But I know I saw something from him. It was like first diet change from squat like Chow in 4 months. So I think it's a bit of kind of hands-off coaching when they were trying to do the shoulder rehab and the gut reset and everything. But as far as I know, they're still working together.
Okay.
Let's get a petition to get Nathan out here too.
Now that would make it
Dasha?
fun.
Yeah, Diasha.
Longest torso in bodybuilding,
That's, I
but
was about to say, you need a petition
highest
for him and his
insertions.
torso.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. I would love to see Nathan stacked up in this lineup. One thing that is crazy. Um, People with these photos and stuff, yeah, it's hard to tell how well they stack up against each other because again, Tonio is kind of smaller, right? It's kind of like in the Texas show. Um, Kareth Baggio, Peel,
Mm.
but he gets lost in the mix, right? And Tonio's bigger than he is, obviously, but it's no Sean Clarita going against Regan and Sergio. Um,
yeah.
it's just these guys aren't as big as people think. And I know Coop sees it too, working in Destination Dallas, but like having been around all these bodybuilders, they are kind of short. They got huge arms, huge appendix, right? Like legs and stuff. But when they're dieted down, they do appear a little bit smaller. So it is the pictures never line up to what they are in real life. Um, because like I've seen some of these guys like in at HEB just like walking around and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, like you're in your off season, you're a little bit fluffy, you just kind of look like a little fat guy right now. But and then they get
Not,
peeled down and they look huge in their photos. I'm like, oh, nice.
the first pro that I ever saw was Charles Griffin, due to his massive arms. But when I first saw him in the gym, I was like, oh, that's the top 10 bodybuilder in the world. And
Yeah.
he still was like a decently big dude, but he's hovering around like 230, 240 now. And really, I'm just being such a compact frame. If you put him next to a big guy who's like 6 foot, like Samson, who's also well filled out, it's just not going to be the same.
Yeah, and I mean, me and you, like, just being 6 foot, right, and over 6 foot, like, it does have a different. I don't know. I view bodybuilders a little bit different. Um,
Mhm.
but like seeing Nick in real life, his arms are just like insane, right? But it is kind of funny just being like my clavicle width is larger than some of these bodybuilders, but obviously they have like slabs of muscle on there, so theirs appears bigger.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It is funny though, like because I was working out legs with this one dude a couple days ago, and he like brought up some video of I think Regan or something. He's like, dude, you're doing the same weight as he is on this like whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but the guy is huge. I'm
Yep.
like, it's not the same, like, but
Oh,
All right.
Oh,
So
You out of breath, Joe? You good?
I'm 275. I'm always a little bit out of breath, but
Are you really?
I'm slowly creeping the scale back up.
what are you at right now?
240.
Dang,
Yeah, feeling good.
juicy.
how many miles
Joe,
you
you,
have this week?
This week, man, I had honestly, hold on, I can tell you here in a second. I want to say I know I'm over 30, I believe. I might actually be at like 70.
Joe, you got 100
100
pounds on me.
miles. No, I checked them this morning at 272. Keep on going up. I'm really scared he may want to push me to 300 this season. Don't want to get there, but we'll see.
I want to see a day in a life video of you putting socks on. um,
I'm
yeah,
at 80 miles right now.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
for this week.
yeah, for this week.
Okay.
I've had one actual long ride this week. It was just a 70-minute or 75-minute ride. The other ones have been focused a lot on trying to be in like zone 3 or just like recovery stuff. And then there was a sprint day too. That was a lot of intervals as well. So slowly but surely.
My wife was gone over the weekend, like I think it's like a couple weekends ago, and so not having the kids club open for my kids like after soccer games. So I was like, okay, I'll just cycle and watch football, right? And I did 75 miles. It's like this puddle of sweat. Um, but yeah, I ever like people know that I'm infamous about my sodium intake. So like 10 grams of sodium will do that to you. So
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, it's always fun
um
getting off the bike and you have this giant puddle. Then stand up and it's just like dripping all the way down. The wife made me start wringing my shirts out before I hang them up because I left a pool of water on the floor, and she ended up stepping in it, and she's like, I thought the cat peed. I'm like, no, that's just me.
you got to do that borax thing that I did. I put all my gym clothes in there. Disgusting. Like that tub was so gray. Oh man, it's like this borax. I guess gets the mold and mildew and stuff out of your clothes. It's pretty bad.
I think one of the most fun things in the world, which is not fun at all, is because I do spin bikes for my cardio in the morning. When it gets to be really warm in the summer, I'll usually be doing like in shorts and just like a towel over my shoulders. When I get to like 15 minutes in and I have to squeeze the towel out so I can dry the rest of my body off again, it's like, oh, this is not good.
You don't lose too much weight. Joe's like, I got 30 miles in for this year.
I do my
um,
cardio 3 out of 4 days. It's like 6 days out of 8 that I have cardio in the morning still, but it's only like 20 or 30 minutes, so it's not bad.
yeah,
Nothing
I
like
think
you
it's needed.
guys.
No, yeah, nothing extreme, but I think cardio is definitely needed, and I think it's needed more than what people think that they need it for. And definitely, like being bigger, the more that I think about the training aspect of putting cardio in the off season, it's really like that mentality of fasted cardio. And again, I don't care about bro science. I or like the scientific guys. Like I think fasted cardio is way more beneficial, especially like with visceral body fat and insulin sensitivity. And it keeps you more productive, in my opinion, later on. But every time I've done a fed cardio session, I don't have as great power output. So
I agree.
yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah, love, yeah, faster cardio. And actually, yeah, in the science, yeah, they waved it off or in that it was insignificant. Yeah, there was a difference, albeit 1%. 1%, yeah, over weeks and weeks and weeks is additive. Yeah. So while it may be insignificant for the period of time that he was studied under statistically, that 1%, does compound and have benefits. But
And I think a lot
I
of the
track.
studies, but I think those studies like focused on calories, right? Calories burned, or is it
Yeah,
fat
it
loss
was.
or weight loss? Not even fat
It
loss. I
was.
think it's weight loss in
It was weight
calories.
loss. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was weight loss. So on net, maybe they equated out all the fasted again was 1% better. Just didn't rise to statistical significance. I would argue that you take that out and through 16, 20 plus week prep session, it makes a darn difference. But as you guys know, I do my own version of cardio, which is just walk real fast, every morning. And if I
So
do,
walking fast is
yes.
me jogging or maybe sprinting.
But in fairness to you, you're 100 pounds plus heavier than me. So it's me. If I put a 20-pound rucksack, it's gonna slow me down. Eventually, I'll adapt and pick up speed. But again, sometimes I try to tell people going faster or working to increase your speed. That's progressive overload. And on the cardio sense. And a lot of people miss the fact that as you're dieting down, you're dropping weight, your workload is not the same.
Yeah.
You're lighter. So really your TDE and energy, is actually decreasing, as you're dropping, weight. So but fasted cardio, I'm way faster than
Yeah.
doing afternoon cardio, with a couple meals or 3 meals, in weighted it down, more water, more everything. It just more sluggish altogether.
And one thing
Yeah,
that I do with, real
go ahead,
quick,
Andrew. Go
about
ahead.
the whole weight dropping and your TDE kind of drops and stuff. I just if they're on a treadmill, I just have them increase the incline as they
Yep.
drop weight and keep it at
Yep.
the same speed.
Yeah.
That's how I try to manage that, and it seems to do really well. But
Yeah.
yeah, what's up,
Yeah.
dude?
It's, find ways, to maintain workload, right? And but again, a lot of people miss that. The lighter we get, the amount of effort to push that body around decreases. As we go into prep and and they're still doing 30 minutes. It's like, why you got me doing 35? Well, because we need to increase your workload.
See, definitely for myself, when before biking, I'm have to eat. My output actually goes up because of it. Usually it's nothing crazy. It's like 2 rice cakes, some bananas, and some honey. Like just to
Light
feed it.
stuff.
But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine, and I think that's what I love. Like I'll throw in some figs and honey, right? But I bet Lane Norton would be so peeled if he would stop doing fed cardio. If he started doing fasted cardio, he would be peeled.
And again,
It's
don't underestimate the value of how you feel, yeah, yeah, going into a training session. Like I actually like fasted training. So whether it's cardio, I just like it. But I also like fasted, or semi-fasted, weightlifting. And there usually, what I do, and yeah, it has at least been effective, for me is I do like adding ribose, to my pre-workout, if I'm doing, in the morning. And that's when I pull in, leg day from NutriBio, with, as an intra. So it's semi-fasted, but it's light, and it's giving me, that, sugar energy, for utilization, at the right, time. But being loaded down with meals is not my preferred way. But because of work, obviously I can't have it. How I would prefer, on the weekends. That's how I train on the weekends. Is always fasted.
And everyone's goals are going to
I'm
be different, how you're fed. So
I'm amazed at how well that ribose works I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, I'm eating a shit ton of carbs right now, but if I have like 15 grams of ribose directly pre-workout, even no matter how much regular honey or rice I eat before that, that ribose makes a difference.
Ribose is energetic. So ribose is, yeah, even if, yeah, it's not going to be stored. It's actually energetic and it's very good. Yeah. And it's a preferred, yeah, source of sugar energy for your heart. So it's even, yeah, for you guys, yeah, yeah, they're slightly enhanced. I think it would be heart healthy to have a little bit of ribose, yeah, daily, yeah, yeah, in there. But yeah, it is preferentially shifted towards the ATP generation pathway. So yeah, ribose, yeah, 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 is energetic, yeah, in my opinion.
But I mean, going back to like the fasted versus fed, I like faster cardio better, partially just because I can roll out of bed and get out of the way,
Yeah.
but more so if I eat beforehand, even if it's like a 20-minute session, about 10 minutes in, I'm gonna need to get off and go use the restroom because I'm gonna have to take a shit. I'm not sure if it's a movement or just like the exertion or just like the anticipation of doing something, but if I have any kind of food in me, I gotta take a shit 10 minutes in, which kind of breaks up the cardio a little bit.
That only occurs, yeah, during heavy stim use. Yeah, it's like, yeah, load it down on the PWO. Yeah, I have to wait, yeah, 10, 15 minutes to see if there's going to be any reaction. Yeah, yeah, before we proceed.
Oh.
Speaking of that, how many bowel movements do you guys have a day? I'm
Um,
I'm around on average 3 to 4, sometimes
I'll
6.
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
Dang,
Okay.
six to
Have
eight.
at least one between every meal, usually two or three before meal one.
So I think
J-
clinically, like clinical constipation, I think is like if you've pooped, if you pooped like one in the last 4 to 5 days, you're not constipated or something like that. So like that's I think the clinical diagnosis of constipation. It's like if you haven't pooped in like 4 days.
Yeah,
If you ever
I'm a very like
constipated,
4 a
just
day.
take a berberine tab.
or some greens. Yeah.
4 a day, depending on how if the diet's clean, it's about 4. If I'm eating whatever the fuck, then there's no telling. I might be in for a rough
Ooh,
ride.
wow.
I always
That
find
only
this
happens
very interesting.
if it's for a day. Yeah, something is not sitting right. Yeah, with me. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Once or twice, usually twice.
I'm
But
like I'm like an Ian Vier where it's not even solid at this point, it just comes out.
You
but
taking spoonfuls of kratom too?
No,
it's,
no kratom,
it's that bike seat pressing up against your scrotum.
probably.
That's whenever I feel it. I'm like, oh man, it's coming.
how much food are you guys taking in these days?
On a training day, I'm like 6,800, and on a rest day, I'm somewhere closer to six.
Oh Jesus! Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're feeding, yeah, 276 pound, yeah, body.
Yeah, no, I
Well, you
mean,
could.
my rice portions are 150 grams dry weight, which is like 450 grams cooked. And I have
That's
those, and I'm adding English muffins with honey on top. I get a Costco muffin a day on training days. There's small muffins now. I miss the big muffins, but it's still a muffin. My pre-workout's like 190 carbs, and then I drink 100 grams of carbs during it and 100 grams of carbs post-workout before I have another 200 carb post-workout meal. So,
Are you pinning any slim or anything like that?
oh yeah,
oh
there's
yeah.
about 70 units total of Lantus, 35 AM and PM, plus some log around the workout. And
Yeah.
that I'm still in a lean spot. We had just noticed number one with the HGH going in, my fasted numbers were rising quite quickly.
Are they?
And then also, weirdly enough, I've been on no Noslin and had like a A1C of 5.5, but a fasted insulin of like 2. So
Huh.
I'm not sure if my body just doesn't make very much insulin on its own, but I do need to take a good amount of Lantus to kind of keep things going. And I do worry a little bit about sensitivity there, but I know I'm staying lean, so I'm not terribly worried about that. It definitely does kind of like, yeah, that's quite a bit of Lantus to be taken in every day.
So interestingly, yeah, I may change the topic ever so slightly, but I'm just curious. Yeah, yeah, Andrew, and you you guys have far more experience, obviously, yeah, running enhancements. So on your HGH, have you ran the experiment where you're taking as much HGH as your IGF is going up, and you found the ceiling that going above that, no more IGF-1 benefit is observed? So because I mean, obviously I hear some wild numbers, but not always does everybody speak to the desired goal, which is to drive IGF-1. And are they measuring IGF-1? So does it warrant 10 units, or does it warrant 18 units? And everybody's going to have obviously some physiological differences, but there is a canonical way to approach the HGH dosing. And to me seems so flippin' random, which is dangerous. Although, I don't know too much any bad things that can come, through HGH, other than, if you're predisposed
Cancer.
to, cancers and all the, things, of that nature, which is obviously, a risk. But if the end goal is to drive IGF-1, are you running the test to see, okay, have I reached that set, point where more HGH isn't going to have impact to my IGF-1 levels?
I know that I personally, I've got my IGF tested, and so I know it does elevate with the doses I'm taking. But at some point, you say, like you said, it doesn't keep on going up. And I'm not sure if that's like the body isn't making anymore. But also, kind of the thing you're thinking there is when you're getting it tested, it's a serum number. You don't know the localized number in the muscle. So if someone could have like a crazy high serum number, that could mean because it's all circulating, not getting put in the muscle. So, like I know,
But driving it any
potentially,
higher, under those conditions, driving it any higher isn't going to necessarily drive it into the muscle, anymore.
Mm.
You already have plenty, so there's got to be some rate limiting step that's, could potentially be throttling it, not known, right? Because everything is, serum, serum based. So, curious, kind of how you guys think through, this stuff. This is the geek in me, obviously, that's coming out.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, being in that it's serum, I don't find any correlation with IGF numbers and muscle growth. I keep track of my trends of IGF, and I only do 2 IUs of GH, and I've been doing that for a while now, just for overall health. But I use genotropins, so again, I don't know everyone's. I've responded different with Serostim back in the day, to where, I mean, I felt effects of 4 IUs to be similar to like an 8 IU dose, but my IGF got to like in the high 300s on Serostim.
Mhm.
Now mine is around in the hundreds and sometimes 200, right? So it varies. If I did a muscle biopsy, it might be different. Now, also, my body doesn't produce estrogen. I've had health
Yeah,
issues, and so I use an estradiol pellet, and so if your estrogen's low, your IGF is probably going to be low as well. So
yeah,
it's hard to say is the GH IGF, and a lot of people don't talk about their estrogen, and if they are using like D-bol or something, some other form of exogenous estrogen. The other thing is, as far as the relation to cancer growth, I find that to be bunk as well. The reason why is because I've had mouth cancer coming up 5 years ago, but I took tesmorelin and CJC during chemo to maintain my muscle mass and to help with sleep. And because I had to continue to work and go do all this stuff. And I was on methotrexate, an oral form of chemo, and
Oh
my
yeah.
cancer went away. So the cancer went away and I haven't gotten it back. So I don't find any correlation with, the IGF, GH. Like I just think that those cells are mutated and so smart in a way. I mean, they use any type of energy that they can. So whether it be fat, carbs, they don't care. But yeah, the whole IGF correlation, I don't know about that. I would be more interested in like someone using like Increlex and doing a muscle biopsy and then seeing what that IGF is of that pre-workout and post-workout or something. Like I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I guess where I'm coming from is just, yeah, you're using something to drive an effect, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
In the case of, yeah, HGH, yeah, the effect is, yeah, IGF. So, but you
But I mean,
rarely hear,
how much MGF is your body producing as well? You know,
yeah, true.
I don't
But
know.
I guess, what it is you don't hear about people testing. Yeah, it's great that, yeah, the community is doing a lot more health markers and health testing altogether. But if you're taking something, yeah, I, yeah, if it's important, measure it, right? So if you're
Yeah.
using, yeah, HGH to drive your IGF-1, measure it, because one, you could be spending, much more money than, yeah, you need to, potentially, if, yeah, I guess the theory is true in that, you hit a limit, yeah, in how much IGF your body is producing under, the HGH that you're putting through. Anyway,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think
just a thought.
yeah, and it's important for people to keep their own numbers and their own trends because everyone's so different.
Oh
And as
yeah.
long as you see a trend that's helping you, what I don't like is when we start comparing other people or we start comparing it
Mhm.
to a rat. But wasn't it Chase Irons that had like a super low IGF on 16 IUs he was doing?
Doing like 18 units of Serostim a day. And whether he was doing like 18 or none, his IGF was like in the mid 200s.
Yeah, and
And you could
theoretically it should
see
be higher.
he was getting a physiological effect from it, obviously. So,
Was that the
but
same time he was doing the, yeah, godly amounts of tests also?
similar times. I think
So
he's
his
done so many
estrogen should have been really
things.
high too.
It was in the mid hundreds. Like I think it was like
Yeah.
110 or something.
Yeah.
But like you said,
Yeah.
like his IGF just doesn't really go up. But you can see when he's taking it versus when he's not. He gets a heck of a lot rounder. So, like Andrew was saying, I think yes, we're taking HGH for the IGF growth, but I think it does more than just IGF as well.
Yeah. And
No, I
I think
agree.
pairing it up with these like mitochondrial supports and not going overboard on them, because I think people are going too high on mitochondrial support, creating a lot more oxidative stress and damage than what's helping them. I just see it being a really good muscle preservation, muscle building environment because my main concern is like sarcopenia, right? Like, I mean, I want to prevent the breaking down of my muscle or losing muscle as I get older, not and and bones float, so we need muscles to hold the bones in place, like so there's so many different reasons why we should be using the growth hormone and peptides and such, but I don't think at such alarming rates during your growth phase as a bodybuilder. Yeah, I think the more growth hormone, the more whatever you can afford is like what you should be taking. Whoever said that, I don't remember, but I think that I fall in line with that during growth phases. But then when you're using it for longevity, I think that growth hormone should be used as part of an HRT for everybody as they age, um, just to keep them healthier.
Suffice to say, I'm not there yet, but
No, yeah, yeah. When you feel it,
it's speaking.
but you're active and you're moving. A lot of people aren't moving, and so a body emotion stays in motion.
Yeah,
And if you're not moving, then what's the like? I told what's the point of living if you're not moving? You're not staying healthy. Like it's just so a lot of these people they don't like they need to get movement down. They need to get they need to get the 90% down before they start taking in the 10%.
Yeah, no, agree.
I was amazed with what my parents were saying because they were on like some Alaskan cruise with extended family the other week, and they were saying that they're both in their mid 50s. My dad's in his early 60s now, but they were part of the minority that was mobile enough to actually leave the boat. Most of the people on there weren't able to even like get off the boat, go and see the port city. They just stayed by the pool or in their lounge chairs the entire time. And that's kind of scary to think about that you can't walk 50 feet or go down a couple of flights of stairs. That's
Yeah.
kind of terrifying to think about.
Yeah, stuff like
It's
that scares me, man.
it's foreign to me. Well, I don't think, yeah, you guys will be susceptible to that because yeah, you're much more mindful about your health overall, and training is deeply ingrained in your lives today. But it's numbing to just walk through an airport, and see all the struggle. People just trying to get to their flight, from the gate, and so all that debate, early on about the GLPs and those classes of families. I'm like, if it's going to get people into a better yeah health state, I'm all for it. But we also need to help continue to drive education because yeah this is going to be likely an unpopular statement, but I do think with everything that is accessible in today's society, yeah, being out of shape and overweight seems to me like it's a choice, a
Oh
directed
yeah.
choice that somebody's making. So there's no excuse, to be out of shape, overweight, and yeah, trying to pass the blame on processed food. No, you can make a choice. And there's things to help you, detox, if you will, some of the mental hurdles, with some of those things, and trying to get you to more accustomed to making better choices. But there seems to be a resistance. That's why people will be perpetually likely stuck with GLP-1s. This shouldn't be. It should be a means to getting somewhere. But it's through that journey, you should also be acquiring the necessary tools and knowledge to have and establishing the better habits to maintain a healthier state and longevity. But
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
with all these
it's numbing.
modalities we have, I mean, it's crazy the fact that we are probably in the worst health position as possible and blaming red dye number 4, 10, 3, whatever you want to do. It is unacceptable and it's just an excuse for people to bask in their mental disorder. And I think the next profession that's going to be really helpful in the future is going to be mental performance therapist and psychologist. I think that's, these drugs, the GLPs, I think people have conspiracies saying that, oh, the food and beverage industry made the food the way it is so that the pharmacy company can bring out the GLP-1 so they can make money since it's a $60 billion revenue industry. But I mean, the therapy part of the GLPs and the therapy part of like eating habits and trying to go outside, I'm a big advocate of getting the presidential fitness testing back into schools for our kids, but also having a presidential fitness test for adults connected to their DMV driver's license. And if you can't pass that, you can't drive because I don't want someone who has type 2 diabetes, can't throw their foot, being in control of their car and not being able to feel their foot step on the brake or gas. I'm very totalitarianism when it comes to health. Because it's just a bunch of excuses and it is a choice. And I've had so many people come and say diabetes is hereditary and all these things. It's not. Like
Mm.
that's a choice. Even type 1 diabetes is not hereditary. My sister-in-law has type 1 diabetes and her kids don't. So it is a crazy world out there right now.
It is. Yeah, but I guess the frustrating thing is just yeah, so many things, yeah, and advances, yeah, have made it possible to be better, but yet, yeah, people choose to not, yeah, engage, yeah, and that's the yeah frustrating part. And then we complain about yeah healthcare and healthcare insurance and premiums, yeah, yeah, what have you. But I'm like, no, that's yeah, stuff yeah would matter if we were just a better, healthier society. Yeah, costs would dramatically yeah come down. Yeah, as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, to add on that too, like most people are too lazy to do it. Like, do the research. They want to find the cheat code. Like every single day, working, being a GNC, it's like, so what can I take to lose 15 pounds? Cool, go outside, change your diet. Like, what's your diet look like? Oh, it's pretty good. What's pretty good? Uh, well, I go to McDonald's in the morning. I get a McFlurry. And it's like, okay, hold on, wait a
That's a
second.
lie. Their
So,
machines never work.
yeah, like you're going to McDonald's for breakfast. Got it. Okay, lunch is what? Subway. Okay, but yeah, it's a little better. Like we got something there. And then they're like, for dinner, I go and get fried chicken. You're like, all right, well, hold on now. Like you want to drop 15 pounds, but you don't want to change any of that. You don't want to learn, like, do the research to figure out what you should be eating. Like, yeah, I
And
think there's
I
just rules out there to not do it.
yeah, I'm not in the camp necessarily of vilifying food. Yeah, I'm in the camp
I love
of
food.
yeah knowledge, right? So if it's
Yeah.
important, measure it, right? If you want to make yeah take an action towards something, in this case, lose weight. Well, there's a couple things you need to to do. You need to start measuring, or at least getting an idea of how much you're taking in, and getting an idea what the impact is to your weight. Establish kind of what that baseline TDE is, which is going to be foreign to a lot of people. But it's learning to yeah, learning to measure what's important and how to measure it and why. And then you can make the decisions. Food is not inherently bad. Excess of anything becomes bad.
Yeah. But also those people that are wanting like that supplement or that quick fix. It's like, dude, you didn't get fat overnight and you're not going to get it
Yeah.
off right away. And consistency and measurable is the perfect diet. So
You walked a mile in this direction, you're gonna have to walk a mile back. It took
yeah.
you however long it took you there. Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, I mean, fat loss is much easier, faster, I should say, than muscle gain. Yeah. But yeah, doing it sustainably, is where people, I think kind of drop the bubble where crashing through that fat loss phase, and then winding up binging and not knowing how to exit necessarily smartly a diet phase, because again, didn't acquire the habits, didn't do it sustainably, didn't gain the knowledge to be more present and how they move forward once they've achieved a particular goal. And I mean, and that's like rampant in bodybuilding, right? You see that all the time. A lot of people want to get up on the stage 2 weeks later, they 10, 15, 20 pounds heavier, because they just went binging. Didn't have a plan on how to get out of the diet phase.
Yeah. Yeah. On that
But
note,
hearing
I gotta get something to eat.
I think we all do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same box of thinking. But yeah, we'll leave it on the note of, people need to stop having so much education on what movie star is marrying what movie star, what shows are coming out on Netflix, and having that all memorized and queued up in their brain, and start focusing on, more things that can help impact their life and better their health. Next week, I don't know.
I
It
don't
won't.
think we're gonna make it next week because with the Olympia, my parents are in town, so I won't
Yeah,
be
I
able
was
to
about to
be
say
on.
next week it won't happen for me either. Kids soccer games coming back, and then I got to drive them to the airport. So I
I don't
am.
even know
Okay.
what's going on next week
Yeah.
besides the
I've got
Olympia.
it. I am judging so Saturday's out, but if we want to consider another day pre-recording,
Yeah.
possibly be open to that.
All right. I will hit you guys up on IG